Hello, Boldarians, and happy New Year! Oh my God, can you believe it? We are literally today in 2026. And I want to welcome you to this new year. We're in this new year together. We crossed over, maybe not all of us at the same time, because a lot of us are on different time zones. And we're seeing not only in America, we're in other countries too. So happy New Year, happy on the way New Year to those who haven't hit it yet. But I pray that this year meet you with peace, with clarity, and with the courage to step boldly into everything God has been preparing behind the scenes. Whether your year ended softly, loudly, beautifully, or unexpectedly, I want you to know something. You made it. You grew. You endured. And you are stepping into this new year with more wisdom, more strength, more purpose than you had 12 months ago. So I want to welcome you back to Boldly Becoming, the space where we talk about living boldly, walking in purpose, and answering the call on your life. I'm your host, Kennyetta, and today we're doing something special. Before we run into 2026 with goals, excitement, or expectations, we're taking a moment to pause, to breathe, and to honor what December did in us, through us, and for us. Because December wasn't just the end of a year. It was the preparation for becoming. So let's go into episode 13, When Freedom Feels Vulnerable. Now, we opened December by talking about a part of healing people often, oh my gosh, how often is overlooked. How vulnerable freedom can feel when you finally walk out of what once held you back. When you stop repeating the comfortable patterns, when you step into the healthier version of yourself. It can feel unfamiliar, exposed, tender, even scary. And this episode reminded us freedom isn't always glamorous. Growth often comes with discomfort, and healing exposes before it strengthens. In transformation, it requires courage. And for me personally, when I think back on my own freedom this year, this beautiful, unexpected freedom, I can say this was with excitement. I was freed, let's just say, from diabetes, free from pounds that weighed on my body, free from the past pain that felt like it would never loosen its grip. And even though these were victories I prayed for, they also expose a new kind of vulnerability. A vulnerability that was scary at first, definitely. And I must be honest with you, it was almost unwanted, even though it was God-led. Even though it was good, it still was unfamiliar. And I remember earlier in the year looking in the mirror, not recognizing my own face, wondering who is this woman staring back at me? And I wasn't sure if I liked her or if I would even grow to like her. Crazy, right? But it wasn't insecurity. It was peace. A peace in my body, in my mind, in my spirit that I didn't yet know how to receive. And now when I look at this bold woman staring back at me in this mirror, I realize I don't just like her, I love her. And I'm excited, truly excited about all the growth, evolution, and becoming that is still unfolding in myself. Freedom doesn't always feel free at first, but it is the clearest sign that God is lifting you into something greater. Now, our next episode. Missing the message when semantics distract from the truth. Now, episode 14 pulled us into a different kind of vulnerability. Now, not the vulnerability of freedom like our last episode, but the vulnerability of being corrected, called up, and redirected. We talked about how easy it is to get lost in how something was said, the tone it came with, the way a word landed, the phrasing we didn't prefer, or the emotional sting that overshadowed the message. And when that happens, we miss the very thing that God is trying to tell us. We said that quiet part out loud. Some of us are more offended by delivery than we are committed to development. Now, in this episode, we confronted the truth that we critique tone instead of receiving truth. We get hung up on the wording and miss wisdom. We debate semantics while ignoring substance. And we shut down correction because it didn't sound Nice. And we miss the message when we've attached ourselves to the messenger instead of the meaning and the truth is. And sometimes a message that matures you won't feel gentle. Sometimes the message that grows you won't feel soft. Sometimes truth arrives in a tone you didn't choose, but it is still truth. And this episode challenged us to become people who hear beneath the surface, to listen for intention, not irritation, for clarity, not comfort, for meaning, not perfection. Because if we only receive truth when it is delivered exactly how we want it, we will never grow beyond our preferences. Now, this episode called us to spiritual and emotional maturity, to develop the skill of hearing of the heart even when we don't prefer the tongue. It reminded us that God's correction often comes wrapped in discomfort, growth requires stretching, wisdom requires humility, and clarity requires surrendering our attachment to how it should sound. This episode shifted us from being reactive hearers to being receptive, teachable, and grounded ones. Now let's move to episode 15, The Weight of Words, Speaking Life at Year's End. This episode was a mirror, one that asked us to slow down and examine the language we lived by in 2025. Now, this episode confronted something many of us overlook. And we overlook this and don't even realize that we're overlooking it. The quiet power of the words we repeat. We talked about the labels we casually claim, the identities we attach to without reflection, the wounds we kept alive through old narratives, the phrases we spoke out of habit instead of truth, the message we internalized that were never meant for us, and the generational language we inherited without choosing. We looked honestly at these ways we say, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stuck, I'm anxious. That's just how I am. That's just my trauma talking. I don't trust anybody. I'm not built for more. And we ask the question, what happens to the spirit of a person who keeps speaking those words month after month, year after year? This episode held both compassion and accountability. Compassion for those who genuinely struggle with real diagnosis, and accountability for those who use labels to explain what is really unhealed pain or unchallenged patterns. Now, you did something powerful here. You made room for both. The person casually claiming a label because it's familiar, and the person living through a real clinical condition who needs support, not shame. We told the truth. A diagnosis is real, but it's not your identity. And a label you were never meant to carry can become a spiritual weight. This episode created space for release. Release of old narratives, spoken curses, painful memories, inherited labels, misdiagnosed experiences, limiting beliefs, and words that kept us small. And it honored the life-giving words we did speak. I'm growing, I'm healing, I'm becoming, I'm learning, I am breaking cycles, I'm establishing boundaries, and I'm depending on God. I'm showing up boldly. So this episode reminded us life and death are in the power of the tongue. So speak life over the year you're stepping into today. You're stepping into 2026 today. It was an altar, a reset, a cleansing of language, a reclaiming of identity, a declaration that your future depends on the words you're willing to speak today. So by the end of this episode, we were not just listening, we were releasing, we were choosing, we were becoming, and I have to be honest. Episode 15 didn't just speak to you. It spoke directly to me. There were moments while writing this episode where I could feel God whispering, "This is for you too." And it reminded me of how I used to speak to myself, how the words, "I am not good enough," quietly shaped the way I showed up in my life. That one sentence, that one lie dictated how I loved, how I let myself be loved, how I carried myself in relationships, how boldly I allowed myself to be in my career, and even how I approached God. Those four little words became a wall, a filter, a limitation, a wound I kept speaking over myself without realizing how deep it had rooted. But this past year, and maybe even some years before, as I was preparing myself to heal, God has been rewriting my language in real time. Now the words I speak over my life are different. I am more than enough. I am amazing. I am loved. I am worthy. I am seen just as I am, with my flaws, with softness, with strength, with becoming. And let me tell you, when the language you speak over yourself changes, your entire life shifts with it. Your posture changes, your confidence changes, your relationships change, your boundaries change, your expectations change, your spiritual walk deepens, and your sense of worth anchors, because words don't just describe us, they shape us. And this episode also reminded me to stop speaking like I was still the woman God already healed and to start speaking like the woman I'm becoming. Now, on to episode 16, Rooted for Renewal, Preparing Your Heart for the New Year. Now, we ended December and the entire year with a word that carried weight: rooted. Episode 16 invited us to pause before rushing into a new year. It reminded us that renewal doesn't begin with movement, it begins with grounding. This episode walked us through what it means to be rooted in God, identity, truth, values, emotional maturity, inner alignment. And we learned that roots do more than anchor us. They nourish us, steady us, and prepare us for the storms that we don't even see coming. We stepped into the reality that you cannot renew what you refuse to release. You cannot evolve while holding on to what hurt you. Renewal is slow, internal, spiritual work, and becoming requires preparation, not pressure. This episode reminded us that being rooted is not passive, it's intentional. It's the courage to say, I will enter 2026 grounded, not grasping, clear, not chaotic, aligned, not overwhelmed. And then in this episode, we met Marcus and Naomi, our fictional couple who embodied the emotional and spiritual journey of becoming. Marcus healing from avoidant attachment, Naomi unlearning anxious attachment, and both of them rooted in God, choosing emotional growth, choosing healthy connection, and choosing vulnerability over old patterns. Their story reminded us that healing prepares us for healthy love. Growth transforms how we show up, and becoming is not just personal, it affects how we love others too. It was a beautiful illustration of what happens when two people let God steady their hearts before stepping into something new. Episode 16 left us with this truth: go into 2026 renewed, not overwhelmed, prepared, not pressured, ready, not reactive, rooted, not rushed. Renewal is already unfolding, and you are enough, grounded enough, and loved enough to step confidently into what's coming next. Now, we had another episode, Books as Therapy, and it was our top reads of 2025. This episode was such a joy because anytime I get to sit down with my sister and talk about books, it feels like inviting you all right into my world. This was supposed to be a bonus episode until I realized there were 5 Mondays in December, but we were able to turn it into an episode that stands alone, and I'm so glad it worked out that way. There's something special about those conversations with her. The laughter, the debates, the shared excitement, the way we both light up when a book hits our spirit in just the right way. It's fun, it's real, it's sisterhood. And it's one of my favorite kinds of episodes to share with you. This episode was a celebration of reading, not just as a hobby, but as a way of living boldly. From psychology books that stretched my mind, to romance that warms my heart, to thrillers that keep me up way too late, to historical fiction that transports me, to biographies and memoirs that remind me of resilience. Books inspire me, they challenge me, soothe me, shape me, and they teach me something about myself, my purpose, and even my faith. Each book I read this year met me where I was. Whether I needed comfort, motivation, distraction, healing, or a nudge in the right direction. So celebrating my top reads of 2025 wasn't just about sharing titles. It was about sharing the journey of the becoming that happened page by page and hitting my 100 book goal this year. Listen, that was a moment, but your girl is not stopping there because in 2026 I'm aiming higher, hoping to get to 150 books. A year of growing in my mind, feeding my spirit, strengthening my perspective, expanding my imagination, and becoming more and more of who God is calling me to be. This episode was pure joy, a reminder that reading isn't an escape, it's an elevation. Now, as we close this December recap and stand at the doorway of a brand new year, I want you to remember this. You are entering 2026 wiser, deeper, freer, stronger, more grounded, and more aligned than you've ever been. Not because the year changed, but because you changed. This month prepared you. It refined you. It stretched you. It rooted you. It renewed you. Now, as I close out December in this year, I want to pause here just for a moment to give you my personal reflection of 2025. I recently completed my 2025 gratitude jar. And as I read through each moment, each reminder, each quiet victory, one word kept rising to the surface: freedom. Now, 2025 wasn't perfect, but it was honest. It was a year that I chose myself with intention, the year I learned that loving yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred, and that freedom isn't about having everything figured out, but about no longer being bound by who you were afraid to become. If this year taught me anything, it's that growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like peace, sometimes it looks like rest, sometimes it looks like finally trusting yourself again. So as we move forward, I hope you take time to reflect on your own year, not just what you've accomplished, but how you cared for yourself along the way. That matters. Thank you for walking with me through this season. So here's to closing this year with gratitude and stepping into what's next with freedom. So take everything December taught you. Everything God revealed, every boundary you set, every truth you embraced, every word you reclaimed, and every freedom you stepped into, and bring that with you as you walk boldly in January. Because next month, well, technically this month, we are going even deeper. January is all about intention, alignment, healing, and spiritual posture. You can expect episodes that help you choose life every single day. Practice alignment when it's uncomfortable, because obedience isn't always easy, but it is always transformative. Learn to wait well. We're going to trust God in silence, in stillness, and in the unseen. And we're going to protect your becoming through holy boundaries, where we create space for purpose, peace, and spiritual growth. This January, we're not hustling into the year. We're aligning into it. We're choosing it. We're preparing for it. And we're walking into 2026 with clarity and intention. Your becoming doesn't pause because the calendar resets. It deepens. And if this December recap grounded you, blessed you, or it gave you something to carry into the new year, I want you to share it with someone who needs a moment of renewal today. And please make sure you subscribe, give us a rating, and stay connected with us through Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube so you never miss an episode, a moment, or a message. Until next time, keep becoming. Keep walking into this new year rooted in what's real and what's God. And most of all, take this with you 2026 because we're here today. Keep showing up boldly. Bye for now.